Hey, I'm Terry.
And I'm Brian, and welcome to another episode in our Forest to Farm series.
Today we're going to take down a couple of trees, and then Brian's going to haul them off with the mini excavator that a good friend of ours has loaned us. And we just can't say enough good about it. This thing is amazing. We've been moving stuff with the skid steer, and it got the job done, but it was work. Climb out of the tractor, try and get chains around the log. You have to dig under the log sometimes to get the chain under the log, wrap that 30-pound chain around the log, get another chain wrapped around a bucket, hooked to the skid steer, hook it on the log, get back in the skid steer, back it down the trail to the woods where we're stacking our logs to be processed in the lumber mill later on. Well, now that Brian ran the Mini X yesterday,
it's kind of like playing a video game all day. You're in a big cushy chair and it's just bouncing around. You don't even have to use your hands to drive, you just use your feet. It's really nice.
And no effort. He sits in that cab, he drives up to the log, picks it up with an opposable thumb on it's got a bucket for digging, and like a backhoe, and then a thumb we'll show you later, and it grabs those logs and picks them up. From the time he sits in that cab in the morning, he can literally pick up logs all day long. You moved 50 logs yesterday?
I moved 50 logs yesterday. I was in it for 9 hours.
And zero effort. And I'm out here moving all this brush around and beating myself up. And when you climb in and out of that skid steer, you're getting covered with dirt off that chain. You're getting sap on you. You're getting dust and dirt on you trying to get up under that log. You are beating yourself to death. Sweat's pouring off of you.
The only sweat I had yesterday was my back sweating because I was sitting in the seat all day.
Because it's a plastic seat, it doesn't breathe very well. So other than that, it's great. But anyway, so with the skid steer, when you get to the other end, you got to climb back out of that thing, unhook the log from the chains, try and drag that chain out from under the log. It's pinched down again because it's laying on the dirt. Then you got to move that skid steer around after you climb back in it. And it's not easy climbing in and out of that little hole. It might look easy, but when you're a big guy, it's tight getting in and out of them things.
Yeah.
Then you have to get around that log with the skid steer and try and push it up into the pile. If you get too deep, you're lucky. You might be able to get some smaller ones hooked into the bucket and lift them up and get three deep, you know. With this Mini X, he can pick it up, and how many feet you think he can reach out?
I think I was reaching out about 12 or 13 feet, and I'm able to actually kind of toss them and get them to go over the back of the pile further back. I was able to bring the pile up to 5 high. So,
and we'll show you where they're being stored, and we're going to actually film the excavator carrying them back and show you here how it works, and it's phenomenal. It's going to cost a little extra money, but man, you're going to get. You moved 50 logs.
50 logs versus
yesterday.
I think he moved 16 on a good day with the skid steer.
So you may pay less for a skid steer, but
time spent working is far less in the mini excavator.
3 or 4 times as much work done with the Mini X. And we're rookies. Yesterday was the first day.
I'd never sat in one before yesterday, and it took me messing one log up with the thumb and the bucket trying to learn the proper angles to grab it. Once I got it figured out, I don't mess anything up and I'm gone.
And we'll demonstrate how you pick it up and use it.
Yep.
Anyway, we're going to drop a couple trees and get started.
Okay, you always want a clean work area. So I've got a couple of stumps here I'm going to knock down real quick, just to make it a little safer to work. Ready?
You ready?
Here we go. Nice chunk of wood there. You ready? I always put a line around the trees so that I just know where my center and my face cut is, so I make sure I'm cutting above it. Here we go! Need to get a wedge real quick. Getting the wedge in so it don't sit back on me. And pinch my saw blade. Coming your way! That one made a bit of a thud. Well, as you can see, tree didn't go exactly where I wanted. It landed on a stump, so it's not the best situation, but it will work. We're gonna measure it off, mark it every 14 feet for the storage for the sawmill, and hopefully one of these days we're gonna turn this into a barn.
It's not hopefully, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be a while yet, but we're getting there.
Okay, I'm on my mark.
All right, so I'm just taking this little saw and at 14 feet, giving him a cut line.
And there we go. All right, well here's the Mini X. Let's see what it'll do. Nice roomy cab, very cushioned seat. This one has a keypad code to start it up instead of a key. Less chance of it getting stolen. All I need is a little game screen to play video games on. It's not super fast, but gets the job done really well. And it's a lot less work on your body. All you're doing is moving joysticks and foot pedals all day instead of climbing in and out of that skid steer. I'm hands-free right now. This trail was initially the width of the skid steer plus a little bit to drag logs. As you can see, we had to cut a few more trees down to make room to carry a 14-foot log through here. Okay, you want to get pretty close? We always drop the blade. That way, holds you up. You're not going to rock around too bad. Now here is the thumb. When I extend this bucket out, I open the bucket all the way. Now the thumb is controlled with a separate switch by auxiliary power or auxiliary hydraulics. It comes down, will clamp, and I roll the log into it and it'll pick it right up. So I'll show you that now. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to raise my blade up. See, it drops me quite a bit because of all that weight. I'm going to rock it back towards me to shift my weight, keep it more towards the center. And I'm gonna take it out of fast mode, and I'm just gonna crawl back in there. With these bigger logs, you've got to take it easy because it will jostle its way out of the jaws if you get to rocking too much. I'm gonna tilt it back forward a little bit to throw the weight back in the bucket instead of towards the front of the bucket. This is far and above 100 times better than the skid steer could have even thought of being. A huge plus to this over the skid steer as well is I've got a completely open cab. With the skid steer we had, the front window was out and the rest of it was still enclosed. So any dust would get trapped in the cab with you. With this, little tipsy there. With this, any dust is just going to blow right through. I can keep breathing. Even with the new trail we cut, we still have a little bit of zigzagging to do because we didn't want to take out this poplar to my left. So, great thing about this thing is I just twist on the axis, twist back. And we didn't want to take this pine out yet, so again, I twist on the axis, and as I pass it, I twist back. It's so easy to operate. It saves all the wear and tear on your body. And now, where Dad's backing down with the camera right now, it is a slight downhill. I found out the first time I went, it gets real tipsy. So, if I keep all my weight forward, I can back down in there with no problem. And just take it slow and easy. Don't rush it. When you rush things like this, it's when accidents happen. Then we go back. Now I'm going to drive right into where our runners are. I'm going to lower my blade, prop myself up, and start extending the bucket out. And I can literally place the log right where I want it. When I get it where I want it, open up, and it drops right in. Well, I can't say enough good things about the Mini X. I mean, this is definitely on our to-buy list if we can ever get our wives to allow us to spend the money. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment. Definitely worth the investment for a rental. You're not going to be able to do near the work like this with a skid steer.
Show them the cushy ride.
And look at this. I'm all the way up and I'm all the way down. It's cushy.
I did the same thing in the skid steer. The difference was there were no bolts holding the cab down. The guy didn't want them in there because he said it was too much trouble taking them out when he had to work under, you raise the body up and work underneath. So mine bounced around, but it was because it was just slamming. So it was like...
It had a bit of a rough ride. This is literally like being at home in a video game chair. I mean, it's awesome.
It's like a Cadillac of equipment from what we've seen. We haven't seen much. We're rookies. And if you see our log pile out here, it's not exactly beautiful. We're not professionals at all, but we're getting the job done. So anybody out there that's trying to homestead, if you just take the time to learn, get somebody to show you a few things, it's not that hard to do. These things, it's simple to run. If you can run a joystick on a video game, you can play this machine with no problem.
I've got 9 hours in this machine and I feel very comfortable in it. Everything works as it should. I mean, it's very easy to operate.
It's great. And for you on Homesteading Today and other social media that we're on, we've had several questions about how we stack the logs, and this is basically it. With a skid steer, you'd have to set them down over there, and I did that pile on the far side, and you would just set them down at the end and kind of push them in there, and then you could drive in there and set the second one on top, but you had to kind of try and lift it up there because we had no apparatus for grabbing the logs. We didn't have the grapple that's available. We just had a bucket, and it only had 2 teeth, so there was no way to grab them.
It was a busted bucket. It didn't work very well.
So we were lucky to get 2 deep in here, or I could push it against the logs in front once there were enough here to hold and kind of just flip it in the air, but it would go this way and that, and it was a battle. I spent so much time. And
with this, I was able to stack. I see now I have 6 logs tall at the peak. So
he came back to the pile that I pretty much finished and added a bunch more on top.
He had 38. There's now over 60 logs in that pile.
Yeah. So this thing, man, you might spend a little more money on it, but you're going to get far more work out of it. So it greatly offsets the
cost of a skid steer.
Definitely.
You can do more than twice the work, and it's not going to take you near as much time. So you're going to save money in the long run.
And you're not beating yourself to death.
That's the big part.
This is a Cadillac. I've been beating myself to death moving brush and rolling logs around. He's just been
I feel kind of bad watching him move brush while I'm riding around on this.
I don't think he feels bad at all.
It's tough when you're riding by pedal powered and you're texting and you look over and your dad's moving a bunch of brush. You do feel bad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But he got to ride in the skid steer all the time, so it's my turn to do this.
It beat the hell out of me. Oh well.
It's the way it goes sometimes.
Yep. He had to have his turn on a piece of equipment, but I'm going to drive this one of these days.
Yep. Well, thanks for watching. We hope you guys check back in. Check us out at foresttofarm.com. Subscribe to us here at Forest to Farm on YouTube, or check us out on Facebook at Forest to Farm as well. Thanks for checking in.
Adios.